This week, I'm talking to Mike Marbach of Crossroads Comedy Theater, a local nonprofit that runs improv classes right here in Indy. I sat down a couple of months ago with Mike after he reached out to chat about third spaces and public transit. The man knows how to get my attention. I love talking to him today about the similarities between improv and podcasting and how he's working to teach people the art of play and conversation. I think he's doing really great work. Speaking of doing great work, if you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can go to support.thirdspaceindy.com. Thanks to those of you who have chosen to do so already. Beyond that, you can do something as simple as leaving a review on your preferred platform or liking and subscribing on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching or listening wherever you do, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, my name is Michael Zarek, and this is Third Space Indy. In 1989, a man named Ray Oldenburg wrote a book called The Great Good Place. And in this book, he coined the term the third place. This describes a place that is outside of your home and outside of your work, that you can go be together with others, build community, and just be yourself. So I've made it my goal to find people all over Indianapolis who are doing their very best to make those types of spaces all over the city. Which brings me to my guest today. This is somebody who I got connected to by Bo Turner, who is the founder of Find Fun Indy. And she had an experience with her company working with this individual. And I think some words were shared and some stories were passed along. And the word third space came up and Bo goes, "Oh, I know somebody who does that." And we got connected over email, and we since have only met once before, but got coffee, had a good time, and I think we found alignment and in terms of the way we think about the world. And which brings me to today's guest. I've been talking too much already. Today's guest is Mike Marbach, who is the founder and current executive director of Crossroads Comedy Theater.
That's what I do. Thanks for having me on the pod.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
I think you captured how we came to this point pretty well, and it's through Bo Turner, who knows everybody.
Hey, I like to think it's not a competition, but I think we know a good similar number of people.
Well, I'm from Philly,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just happy to know people that know people.
From Philly, but now you live here with your family on the south side of Indy.
Correct.
But most importantly, you run, I failed to say what this is. So Crossroads Comedy Theater, I'm just going to call it Crossroads from now on, is an improv comedy nonprofit. So you teach people how to do improv comedy. You work with individuals, small groups, and sometimes businesses.
Yes.
Right? And then you're basically taking a number of classes to sort of develop those skills.
Yes. Correct.
Right?
Yes. We teach people, I would say we teach people improv for everyday use. A lot of times with improv, that comedy word gets glued to it, which we do. We do. We actually do. We do improv comedy. So it's not by mistake that the comedy gets attached. But our classes, especially our improv one, starts off with the everyday skills that you can learn from doing improv, because we improvise every single day.
Yeah.
Outside of the classes that we offer, every conversation that you have. So I like to think that we help people be better at everyday life through our classes.
Yeah.
But yes, we also train people how to do improv comedy, and we do shows with the people that we have had through classes. Yeah,
definitely. And you just got done with the class too.
I did, literally just about a half hour or so ago.
Yeah.
It's an improv one class, great group too.
Okay, that's interesting. So you said improv one. Is that like 101? So you can do like 201, and
yes,
you can move up the ladder.
Yes, we have improv 1, improv 2, improv 3, and improv 4. In improv 1, and we call it improv for everyone, and that is kind of like the ground floor. You can come in. You do not have to have any experience whatsoever. You don't even really have to have a desire to perform. or want to perform at all, because the performance aspect of it is optional. You're not going to be thrown on stage whether you want to or not. It's for people who really want improv for the skills and benefits of doing improv. Our 2 goes a little bit deeper into that. There are different skills, different techniques, and it does become more of that improv comedy, that more performative element as you go through 2, 3, and 4, because there are different styles that we go over. There are different aspects of improv, ways to start scenes, ways to continue scenes, ways to be funny through very, like, what I call, or actually I'm quoting one of my improv instructors, Susan Messing, neck up ideas, where people who want to get into improv start learning a little bit more about, like, almost the science behind it, because there is science behind all of it.
One thing that I have thought about for, like, quite a bit since you and I first talked, but just in general, is, like, this concept of play in conversation.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the way we interact now, a lot of things are so formalized, so base level, like, oh, how's the weather? Oh, I think the weather is quite good. It's a little humid outside, don't you think? Whereas to truly develop, like, deep relationships with people, you have to, like, have a real sense of play with them, not be worried about, obviously you have to worry about what you're saying in terms of, like, who you're insulting, but, like, not be worried about sort of being so touchy on a lot of things when you're talking, and that idea of being playful in the way you're talking. So are you sort of delving into those topics and sort of interweaving ideas of playfulness in conversation, and just, well, tell me what improv is to you. I guess that's really what I'm trying to. Yeah.
Why are you here? In our classes, it really is reintroducing adults to play, using your imagination. I talked a minute ago about the science of it. One of my hobbies is, which I have no training in it whatsoever, but just learning about neuroscience and neuroplasticity, and the stuff that we do in improv touches on all of those things. So even just connecting with people and the things that make you hesitant to connect with someone, the idea that playing is one of the most neurologically stimulating things that you can do as an adult, and how your brain begins to one of the things I learned is that the brain cannot distinguish between a fact and a thought, which is wild to me, but also explains a whole lot of the way the world is right now, right? So your brain starts to take on what you think. So if you don't think that you can do something, or you're hesitant to do something, the more you think those things, your brain's like, all right, I guess we can't. Why would we spend the energy trying? Because your brain will lead you to that result. So that's where play comes in. That's where improv comes in, and trying to get people to face those somewhat basic fears, especially since the pandemic, especially since screen time has removed so much interconnection between people. Like you were talking a minute ago about the weather. What I would say we do in classes is we take it from, hey, it's pretty sunny out today. Yeah, it is sunny. And it's a little humid too. And go back and forth like that, touching all these surface things is like, in our class, to be like, yeah, and it kind of bothers me because I was going to do this other, I was going to go on a picnic, but I don't want to be sitting there sweating. So there's a whole bunch of just going deeper and asking questions and listening to people rather than just waiting for your opportunity to talk, which is mostly what we do. So yeah, play, general attention span we work on. The pandemic ruined a lot of stuff. Screens continue to ruin us and our attention spans. When people come and take a class with us, they're learning how to reignite their imagination. They're learning how to problem solve in real time. You're faced with a situation in an improv class where you're a doctor and you got to figure out how to do surgery. It's so weird to talk about outside of an improv class, but you'll have people in there who you can see them transform. Like, I'm not saying they become in that moment, I was a doctor. Like, I'm not like that. But just see them, you'll see them first. Some people freeze. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how to be a doctor. In a few weeks, you could see that same person take on the attitude of, well, I create the reality. So in my world, this is what a doctor does. This is how a doctor behaves. So
you're taking the neuroscience idea of can't distinguish between fact and thought and making your own facts with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes.
In a playful, like absurdist way.
Yeah. I mean, think about some of the things, the people that have written books about it, like the little one-liner things like fake it till you make it, right? That's what it is. And the more you think that you can do something, the more likely it is you will find some success within that thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
Yeah. You said a couple of things that I have latched onto. The first thing is that, well, I've already touched on a little bit, but the distinction between fact and thought. Someone brought this up to me in terms of like the way people become misogynistic is they start making like light, like women hating jokes, and then just like keep doing it. And then you actually just like start hating women because you start making these jokes. It's like, okay, well, ease off a little bit. Like it's okay to make a joke every now and then, but it's like back up a little bit because that's how you fall into that trap of, well, you said that's how the reality we live in has happened now because people have a lot of the things that we have done like start off as jokes and then became whatever shared reality we hold.
Yeah, and it's also just general interactions with people. You may have an interaction where someone is not necessarily giving you the attention, right? They may be doing something and just kind of like talking to you, but you have no idea what's going on in their life, in their moment, like everything that led up to you having that interaction. You may have somebody in a class or that you work with that each time you pass each other in the hall, there's like a weird tension and you have no idea why. And you just start to like believe that that person doesn't like me. And it's the brain's just being weird. And the more you think those thoughts, the more you start to believe that they're real, but they're not.
Yeah.
Brain is smart, but it's also weird and easy to fool.
The other thing you said that I have also latched onto is this idea of listening rather than waiting to talk, which this podcast specifically has helped me to do.
Yeah.
I keep saying I have undiagnosed ADHD outside of the podcast, but also within it. And like, that's such a real thing in my life is that I like to, maybe like is the strong word. My brain likes to interject into what people are saying, but sitting down and being intentional with a moment and sitting down with Mike Marbach to talk about Crossroads Comedy, like, oh, I'm really interested in this moment, wanting to hear more about what's going on. And it started to actually carry over into regular conversation too, where
That's good.
I've clued in. It's like, oh my God, I've transformed into a podcaster. Like the way I talk to people is so question focused. It's always like I'm delving into their deepest secrets in the first interaction. So it's funny to see the overlaps in what you describe coming out of improv versus like what I've personally experienced doing this.
Yeah, and that's what we do. Because if you do not hear, if we're doing an improv scene and you don't hear what that person says because you are thinking of what you're going to say, there's no way to build what we call a base reality, where we agree on who we are to each other, where we are, what's going on, why things are happening, any of that stuff. Whereas if you just listen to that person, you can pick up on a lot because we also talk about like whole body listening, deep brain listening to what your scene partner is saying and not being in a rush to get to your idea because you can get to that later. Right now, let's focus on these two people and just go back to the weather example. A scene could start off like that. Like people that take our like improv 1 class think that they have to be funny or they have to be clever. And I'll just say like, no, just come out and say a word, make a sound. come out and start miming washing dishes, and we'll figure out the rest. People will start their sentences, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like hanging on, like, oh, this is going great, and they're like, oh, I just don't know where I'm going with this. No, you were doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
You were doing great. But listening is absolutely huge for people that come out of our classes. I've been doing improv. This is my 20th year doing
Dang.
improv. Yeah, 20 years. And speaking of ADHD, was diagnosed with ADHD, which I got the post-pandemic boom of ADHD. And what happened with me, I'm told, what my doctor has said, is that improv and structure kept a lot of those things in line. And then the pandemic hit, and that structure fell apart. And I wasn't doing improv, and I wasn't teaching improv. But the improv really is what, especially now, has just kind of like, when I'm teaching a class, I have to pay attention. I have to focus, all my attention on what is happening right in front of me. So even as the instructor, it has helped and continues to help me. I can't interrupt the scene. I have to be, if I do interrupt the scene, it has to be for a reason. I just can't interrupt for the hell of it, So yeah, listening, waiting, and not waiting for your chance to talk that's a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The other is kind of just talking at each other.
Yeah. You also said something interesting, which is that people were worried about not being funny, but like, there's always the joke that like The Onion is struggling at this time because our reality is like so absurd. And it's like, how does The Onion write about something more absurd than that to make you laugh? It's like you look at the day in, day out of things that are happening before our eyes, and it's like, what are we doing? That type of thing. Mm-hmm. And like just talking about that in a natural flowing way can end up being funny. So when you bring it up in improv, I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
Then you mentioned something about transformation between a first class and then the last class. How many classes are in, let's say, the 101?
We do two different versions. One is our newer version, and that's specifically for non-performers, people that are like, I want the skills of improv, but I don't give a shit about getting on stage. In fact, it terrifies me. Mm-hmm. But it's more about like the everyday skills. The other one is 8 weeks. So the improv for non-performers, that's 6. Improv 1, which has the more of a performance element in it, is 8 weeks.
Okay. And that's 1 a week, right?
Once a week for 2 hours.
That's it. That's dope.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about the way people transform both as performers and just as people, like what do you witness over the course of those 6 or 8 weeks?
I'll do even better. We do an improv basics workshop, mm-hmm. Which is 1 day for 2 hours, mm-hmm. sometimes an hour and a half. And the transformation over just that time is huge. Mm-hmm. And I don't do anything at the top to kind of bring people together. Like before the workshop starts, I just kind of lead them to a room and, I also kind of observe how they interact with each other, if they do at all. Many don't. Many people kind of come in looking a little nervous because they've seen improv on television and they think that they're going to be getting into, I'm going to have to get up and talk about an example of the world's worst, or I'm going to have to do the hoedown or make up a song. And that's not what we do. Mm-hmm. So watching them, how they interact. So the transition as they kind of get to know each other, which is also a huge element of all this, is you are more open around people that you are more comfortable being open around. The more you know each other, the more trust you have. The environment that I or our other instructors create is super important to this. But to your question, the point of where they start and where they end is a lot of times what I see is them looking at their phones as they wait for the workshop to start, maybe introducing themselves to one another and doing some of that weather talk, that surface weather talk that you brought up. But by the end, exchanging phone numbers, talking about the work that they do. There have been people who have gotten jobs or became friends or then signed up for the full Improv 1 class, which is great. It's one of the goals of doing that, but one of the goals is also it stands on its own as a fun thing to do. Just watching that transformation for me is, it's rewarding enough in a way, because just seeing people open up, and it's in our feedback too, and it's over and over and over again. It's like I didn't know what to expect when I came in, but by the end I was exchanging phone numbers. So that's mainly what I witness, is people who come into it not knowing what to expect, which is improv, making friends throughout that 2 hours. 2 hours. And the vibe is so different from the very top of the workshop. Mm-hmm. And so you expand that to a 6 or 8 week class, and things are that much more cohesive. Like I said, friendships, long friendships, because I've been doing this 20 years, have come out of improv classes that I've been teaching, whether it's in Philly or here in Indianapolis. Weddings have happened. So yeah, it's just really boils down to people connecting and getting to the deeper questions. We just did, speaking of Bo Turner, another event with Find Indianapolis, and that was a event for singles. It was a show, but we've also done workshops for singles. And for me, that's one of the great things about improv, because it creates a structured environment where you can meet people, not necessarily singles, but any adults. Because as we get older, a lot of us aren't involved in, intramural sports, or our hobbies aren't ones maybe that are around other people, or maybe we're not in a book club. So it provides a structured way where you can meet people if you're new in town or just want to expand your circle of friends. But for the singles event, you get to know people very quickly in a structured way. We do one exercise where you tell a 1-minute story, and then that person that you're telling that story to is listening, and then their job is to then repeat that story back to you, trying to do what they can to capture the essence of how you told it. Not like in a Jimmy Fallon impression kind of way, but what were the moments that person was excited about? What were the moments where that person's attitude kind of changed, or you saw like a frown or anything like that? You're trying to capture that, because it also opens up how you present yourself to other people as well. But yeah, by the end of those kinds of workshops, you know people a hell of a lot better and connect on a deeper level, whether you are interested romantically or not. You have people that you know better than a first date might provide. So yeah, all fun stuff and cool transformations.
I'm failing. Yeah, you left me speechless. I'm failing in my own improv right now. I was thinking about how I have done an activity like you described, where you tell a story for a minute and then you repeat it back, but in a totally different context. It was actually in the context of yoga, which, but very much into terms, because you talk about the improv being focused on what I would consider active listening. That's like a very active listening exercise where it's like because you're required or told ahead of time, you have to repeat it back. You are obviously hyper fixated on that. And it means you can't break out of that shell of like wanting to speak up or anything.
For sure.
Like that.
Yeah.
And I found it really pleasant in the one time I did it.
Yeah. And just like with anything, there's going to be some aspects where you gravitate toward them. They come on a little bit more easy. Like if we're talking about a performance kind of class where we're miming, or there's another class where people are doing some character work. Some people gravitate and really naturally do voices or characters, or are just generally good actors. Some people are just naturally, it doesn't matter what they say, it's going to be funny, or it's going to just add information. Even if it's not funny. There's skill levels for each and every single element, just like there is with anything else.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how much you hyperfixate sounds negative, but that's what I'm going to say. Hyperfixate on this idea of interpersonal relationships through the context of improv.
Mhm.
Why do you think that someone like me, who I would consider a very average person, only sees improv and then thinks of comedy and then also thinks that's a little cringe and that type of thing, where it's like, how has it gotten to the point where the average viewer thinks it's a little like odd or strange, versus when you speak about it with a pseudo reverence. And I also have found a lot of respect for this. Just again, going back to this idea of through the podcast, like I really think what you're doing is amazing. But what do you think about just like the average person's viewpoint?
Yeah, that viewpoint is created by Whose Line Is It Anyway?
An amazing show.
Which is really, really fun. But it's also a short-form improv game, a short-form improv show that is edited down. So it makes people think that, oh, I can never do that. You can. You can do that if you wanted to. And just as you train with something, it's like watching the Olympics and someone is like hurtling. I can never do that. You can if you started training at 10 like this person did,
Yeah.
So watching, I think that's one element, is seeing professionals do it in a way that is edited down to like the best stuff, creates the illusion that you can't, that like, leave it to the professionals kind of thing. And to some extent, that still can be true. But there's also the fact that over the last 20, 25 years, improvisers are in a whole bunch of writers' rooms, are on television. Improvisers are in movies. Sketch comedians are creating some of the biggest horror hits between Backrooms and Obsession that have been out in a very long time. But when they then write improv scenes into their shows or their films, it's terrible. They write it to be terrible. They write it to be corny. So which is fun, but it happens repeatedly. Whether it is The Office, where Steve Carell started in improv and came up through Second City, whether that's the case, or Abbott Elementary with Quinta, they're writing improv scenes that are they make it look bad, like it's even made fun of in the show.
So like they're intentionally writing bad improv into the show, so by way of thought versus fact, to pull that back in, we have now perceived it as sort of like goofy cringe.
This is going to be, I've seen improv and I know what improv is, and it stinks. And it's not something, it's either like, I can never do that because I've seen it done so well, or I would never do that because I've seen it done so badly. And I think that hits your question. The weird thing is there are good representations of improv, and one of the recent ones is this movie called Deep Cover. It's on Amazon Prime, and it has to do with the police bringing in improv performers to act as like the seedy underbelly of the crime world to kind of infiltrate. It's a comedy, and it's goofy, and it's completely ridiculous at times, but they present how the skills of improv are useful. Of course, it's a grand kind of outlandish scenario, but they show, character work in action. They show listening. They show looking for patterns and recognizing patterns. And then there's also this show on Netflix called The Brother's Son, which is a martial arts. It's also another crime drama. I don't know what the deal with bringing improvisers in to work with crime, but it's another one where that kind of plays into things. And it shows, again, how this guy who's going through, I think, the Groundlings School in LA in this series, how he uses improv to help his family survive, to get out of jams, weird, fun things like that. It's like, what would I do if this were an improv scene, and kind of like plays it out. It's fun.
I had a couple of friends in high school. I probably mentioned this to you when we first got coffee, but I had a couple of friends in high school Shout out to Graham Cody if you're listening. But he, in high school, just like they started their own improv group, like in the high school. And I would go to their shows like once a month. And I always thought they were like wonderful. Like, you know, I was 17, 18, but like it was cool to like see them. I would always come out of it laughing. That brings me to my next question. If you take you've talked about improv in the context of, you know, self-improvement, a lot of sort of confidence angle. Is if you take it at its base level, is the goal of improv to make you laugh, or is it just to be able to go with the flow?
I think the goal is what you make it. For me, the overall goal of improv is, this is going to sound super corny, but to
Probably
make
not.
people better, to make better people. Because I really, truly believe that if you adapt the skills of improv, which is listening to each other, communicating better, like I was talking about before, looking for patterns, recognizing patterns, deeper listening, conflict resolution, collaboration, being more positive about your own outlook, being more positive and raising up the people around you, hearing an issue and trying to think through solutions with other people rather than ruminating on it and, oh, we're lost, it's done, it's finished, finding ways through. So I think that for me, it's, like I said, creating better people, making people better. But that also has its own kind of goals, and you can do that on stage by people coming and watching your show, because you can't rewind the stage, right? Which is one of the great things about live theater. You're going to have people who are looking at their phones, but they can't. Oh wait, what was it? Or pause. But they're, for the most part, going to be paying attention. They're not going to be looking at their phones. They're going to be laughing, and it's an experience that is not going to happen again. It's whether it's short form or long form improv, or even dramatic improv, which does exist. You're creating something. These people are there, and it's never going to be seen again. And they're paying to see you, and you have no idea what you're going to do. You know, it's something kind of funny about that. But yeah, it's those are the goals. Make better people, and I think make better people when they come to the show. Make people better when they come to see a show, and just forget about life for a while. Yeah.
The two things that popped in my head are that I was thinking of James Bond.
As we do.
James Bond, as like, if you look at him in his, if you assume this is like the coolest guy on earth, supposedly, you know, I feel like a lot of the actions he takes, even though it's obviously a scripted movie or whatever, but a lot of the actions he takes as a spy are through the lens of improv, like very like, oh, I'm a loose cannon. Like, I'll just do, you know, I don't need to listen to him or the dispatcher or whatever. I'm just going to do what I think is appropriate in this moment. Thinking about that, I don't know why that popped in my head.
Well, I mean, it's an opportunity for me to unburden myself. I have not seen a single James Bond film.
Unburdened.
Yeah.
I'm now free.
Yes. I've been holding that in. I just haven't made the time. It's not that I don't want to. It's just that now that like and it's probably an ADHD thing where I would want to watch all of them.
Is there a movie that has been written, like, wasn't Anchorman like a lot of totally improvised scenes?
I'm sure.
They just like you said, set up a base reality. We're gonna go do a brawl in the middle of the alley with the different news channels, but like what is actually said or done in that scene is a little like.
I think a lot of the different takes. I think the scenes are probably a little bit more fleshed out than they may appear, because they're also good comedians and performers that they can make it seem a little bit more fresh. But they would have those like line-orama kinds of things on, you know, remember DVDs?
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Or directors. No, rest, they're still made.
That's
they're
true.
Still made. I actually picked up two, especially because companies are phasing out a lot of physical media.
Shout out to Sony. Have you heard that news?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I picked up Weapons and what the hell was the other one? Sinners on actual physical discs.
Yeah, both good movies.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
I don't know, whatever. We're improvising.
Yeah, I threw myself right off there. Not even using my own skills.
The other thing I was thinking about is that every now and then on Reddit or just in real life, that this is something we think about, is that I think everyone struggles with this, which is like, oh, you like someone, both in a romantic sense or whatever, and you don't know. And you talked about like being able to read signals, read signs.
Yeah. I mean, we do. I think we do create people who are better listeners, people who are better able to read body language, but we don't create mind readers. And this, I told people this in Improv 1 today. Don't be stingy with your information. Don't be coy. And those are things that, of course, are going to be in not just romantic relationships, but any kind of relationship, whether it's a boss and a employee, or lovers, lavas, whatever it might be. So it still requires that people be clear with intentions and open and honest. So does miscommunication, especially in a romantic sense, continue because of the feelings that are involved there? Yeah. So you have to still be. You might think that you've read something perfect, but maybe not.
Yeah.
We just got to talk.
One last question, and then we'll move on to what I call the canned questions.
Sure.
Is there like media that you mentioned 2 movies earlier, the Amazon Prime one and the other one. Is there media that you would suggest people seek out that highlights this work well?
That highlights improv comedy, sure.
Improv anything.
I don't know of anything that highlights the work of improv. There's a Mike Birbiglia movie.
God, he's so funny.
He is. He's great. There is, The Deep Cover. There's The Brother's Son. There's on Netflix. There's a couple things. There's, what is the name of it? Middleditch and Schwartz. Schwartz being Parks and Rec, Jean-Ralphio, and Thomas Middleditch from Silicon Valley, and other stuff. They do improv. It's just the 2 of them. They play a bunch of different characters, and it's overall pretty good. There's Will Arnett's show, Murderville, where he is a detective, and he kind of knows the broad strokes of what's going on, but he invites in a celebrity guest. And the celebrity guest doesn't know. And Will Arnett has to improvise everything along and lead them, but also follow as this thing goes on. And they're trying to solve a crime.
I'm laughing because it sounds absurd to me.
It is. It is quite absurd. And some of the people that you wouldn't expect to be very good at this, like an athlete, you think a lot of times that they're going to be a little bit more rigid and disciplined, but there's a couple that show up on the series that are just really good.
Yeah.
And I think it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and that's just play, their sense of play and pretend, and their imagination has clearly survived adulthood.
Another question popped in my head, which is, what do you think of Dropout TV?
It's great.
Yeah. I've never watched a single show, but I am aware of it.
Super fun. A lot of great improvisers on there. Not for nothing, but some of them I trained when they were starting out.
Yo, hey, I'm pointing. You can't, if you're listening, you can't see, but I'm pointing. This is.
So they're pretty greats.
Okay, cool. I've been thinking about like checking that out more because Brennan Lee Mulligan's come across my radar a lot more recently. And what's the name of the CEO? Do you know?
I don't remember. No.
Oh gosh. Well, that guy seemed cool too. He went on an interview show I like, and I thought the interview he gave was really delightful.
I follow him, but I cannot remember his name right now.
I got no idea.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to what I call the canned questions.
Alrighty.
Third Space Indy is brought to you by City Rising. City Rising is a social impact studio. Most recently, they implemented an eviction data dashboard that looks to highlight and reduce the impact of the over 30,000 evictions, mostly affecting Black and Latino women and their children Indianapolis faces every year. You can learn more at cityrising.org. I have looked at that dashboard. It is very interesting. Just as a side note, City Rising has sponsored a question,
All right.
which is, what is a third space to you?
This probably sounds like a cheat, but what you described at the beginning, I mean,
Sure.
It's kind of what we do. It's on our website too, trying to give people back that space that is not home, that is not work, that is not or school, but somewhere where they can go and connect with other people and either find or be themselves, and forget the worries of the world for a little bit of time.
Let me ask you an extension of this then.
Sure.
What does it mean to be yourself?
Comfortable. I think that's what it means, is just being comfortable. And you know people who go around and they are the same person in front of everybody. Then there are people who kind of put on a different face because either they are perceiving that they have to be a certain way for a different kind of audience, or they have to be a certain way for that particular audience. So I think comfort is what it's all about. Comfort in your space, comfort in your skin, and I think that is kind of being yourself.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're comfortable?
I struggle. I mean, I've been doing it with improv, just like with anything else. You go to the gym once, you're not done. You work.
It's a muscle.
Yeah, it is. It is a muscle, and it's your brain. We have a class coming up in October, and I call it "Work That Brain Out," and it kind of weaves together the improv and science elements. Again, I am not a neuroscientist. I'm just somebody who has become obsessed with it and kind of realized over reading it and over the years that a lot of what we do in improv hits on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it is a muscle that has to be worked out. Teaching has helped. Continuing to teach, and we're doing multiple this session classes. I have Improv 1, I teach an Improv 2, and I teach a sketch comedy writing class. So all of that has kind of helped to keep me a little bit more engaged with myself and who I am. I have to get to the point where I am performing more again. I think that will kind of reconnect that part of me. But it is they combined with the ADHD, being a more introverted person in general. I am not the typical person who you think would be on stage making up what they're saying and doing. But I also think that the more we do this, the more people we're seeing that it's exactly like that.
Yeah. Someone said to me that 2 points here. Someone said to me that it was actually David Strange. He listens sometimes, I think. David Strange said, "Michael, life is performance art." And I said, wow. And then I said, third spaces are where you stop performing. I don't know if you like that reply.
Yeah.
But it's this idea of, we put on a face or a mask or whatever in every interaction. So almost in improv, you're like you're removing the facade of the performance by just making it known, if that makes sense.
Well, there's a face that we wear in the cold light of day. It's society's mask. It's society's way. You know.
No, I have no idea.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, I'm not well
Jekyll
read
and Hyde,
enough.
the musical. There's a song called "The Facade." There's a face that we wear in the cold light of day. Yeah, that was for maybe one person listening. It's relevant. I wasn't just pulling that out of nowhere. But yeah, I like the reply. I think it can be a third space as far as where you kind of stop performing, depending on the space. I think that's fair.
Yeah. There was another thing also that you said.
Was it Jekyll and Hyde? Did I throw you off?
I wish I had the chops to sing. Maybe I do. Maybe I should pivot into the different podcast format of just starting, instead of doing Jennison's song at the beginning, it should just be me.
Yeah.
Every episode.
But to be fair, everybody can sing.
It's a muscle. Oh, I was talking about a muscle. I totally agree with that in terms of like looking at the way thinking of who I was back when I was a summer camp counselor, just like a freak of nature, able to interact with anyone, and then like ramming into the wall that was a year of no contact with anyone in 2020. And then like moving through time to getting to the point where I get laid off from my job and then I start a podcast, to now being like annoying again, but in a way that I think some people like. And I totally agree with you. Total muscle behavior there of just like needing to work out.
It really is. And again, it just goes back to the brain being weird. The more you don't do something, the more your brain thinks you just shouldn't do something.
I agree.
The more you overthink something, the more you're laying in bed and, I should get up and do this. The more you procrastinate, the brain just kind of builds procrastination into things. And there are absolutely conditions, diseases, mental causes for a lot of this stuff. So I'm not saying improv is like improv will cure what ails you. Pick it up. only $1.99 or anything like that. But I would say that it does help because even with things like dementia, Alzheimer's, there are improv exercises and improv studies that are show that it helps.
Yeah.
When you work that brain out.
A follow-up question to the previous question. We took a long tangent, but that's okay. Which is, what is a third space or place that has existed for you previously, but no longer does?
You say no longer does as in it doesn't exist, like physically, or no longer does as in I just haven't been able to do it?
So the example I always give, because I think it's the easiest one, I just mentioned summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
I was a summer camp counselor from ages 17 to 21. Mm-hmm. That summer camp still exists, but I do not exist there. So I would say it doesn't exist in that scenario.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I too was a camp counselor.
Oh, no.
I was.
That's fucked up.
I was. Which was, it was one of my favorite jobs of all time. Mm-hmm. I loved it. So that was Camp Cora back in Philly.
Cora,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Good time, great time. I was my title was like communications counselor.
Fitting.
Which he only hired me because I had put video editing on my application, and he told me so. He's like, "Hey, I'm bringing you in because we do an end of summer slideshow, but I want to do like a video element this year. So I'm going to put you in this trailer with some computers." I was like teaching kids how to type, watching them play games, but I was also running around taking photos for the slideshow and editing things. And because I was there for 4 years, I had them doing a short film, comedy sketches like that were written for kids, and they were acting in them. That all then it came from a slideshow with some video elements too. At the end, it was like 45 minutes long that had sketches and probably like a 12-minute movie in there.
Yeah,
it was a little nuts.
That's
anyway,
sick. No, that's literally so cool.
It was a good time. And so a third place for me that doesn't exist anymore, I would say bowling. Because bowling still exists, but I do not exist in bowling. Bowling was one of the places for me. It was kind of a third place where I would go there weekly growing up, either by myself, but usually with to practice or with the teams. Saturday morning teen leagues, and since college, where we would also go bowling a lot, I haven't really done it, and it's been a very long time since I have. And I think about it probably once a month, at least.
Mike, why aren't you bowling?
Yeah. And I wasn't, I'm not joining the PBA tour or anything.
Have you ever hit a perfect game?
No, not at all. My highest was like 256. Still pretty good.
That's pretty good.
None the,
I don't think I've ever
sneeze at.
I don't think I've broken like 210.
Yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Yet.
No, let me get back in it.
Yeah. I mean, bowling is like, I'm one of the people that thinks it should be an Olympic sport, but also recognizes that you could just throw it down there. There could be absolutely technique, but also at the same time, you can get a toddler up there and they can roll the ball and knock the ball down.
Yeah. It's a great intergenerational space, actually.
Yeah,
I talk about those
is.
spaces sometimes, like the roller skating rink is an example of that, but bowling is like a great thing to do with a wide variety of people.
For sure. Yeah. So bowling for me, I think, is a space, a third space that I don't have. Improv was a third space. And until we started really doing stuff here in Indy, it didn't exist for me. I would say it exists now, and it will kind of like exist more once we have more regular performances. But we're getting there.
Yeah. How often do you attend comedy stuff in Indy?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Because I live on the south side.
You live on the south side.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm touching Greenwood. And I don't drive.
Mm-hmm.
So when I leave the house...
Which respect to you for that, by the way.
Well, no. I thank you. I will take the respect, but also I can't go places.
Yeah, that's true.
Without paying. And thankfully here in Indianapolis, when I take a Lyft or an Uber, it's a hell of a lot less than it would be in Philly. But also in Philly or Chicago where I lived, there are other options. And also things are a little bit more close together. If I really needed to walk somewhere, I could walk.
Thank you for steering us to this, because this is my favorite topic. You know that well.
Yeah. So that I don't go to as many comedy shows as I would like. Also, first of all is I don't drive. The second of all is there's not enough comedy shows to go to. There are sporadic things other than stand-up, and to some extent storytelling. There's not enough long-form improv. There's a lot of short-form improv in Indianapolis. There's Comedy Sports Indianapolis, which does short form, but they also do more and more long form too. So they're offering more to see. There's Red Curb Comedy, which follows Study Hall once a month at the IF Theater, but there's not that much to see.
Do you think that is a similar issue that live music is facing, where just the interest isn't there? Where there's not a lot of like, oh, if I want to charge $10 to $25 for my show, people just won't pay and show up? Or is there just quite literally not the infrastructure for it?
I think it's so much. It's what you said, but it's also the minimum wage in Indiana is $7.25. There is no public transit. There's little
at least,
to no,
especially down where you live.
Yeah, there's little to no public transit. It's cheaper to stay in and scroll or even rent than it is to go out. There's a whole lot of socioeconomic factors for why music is struggling. They're charging more because they can't fill stadiums a lot of times, depending on what it is. So they have to make up for that. That's why you're seeing like subscription services for movie theaters. I remember when I was growing up, a movie theater would have like 400 seats. And now there's like 40 seats. They're nicer. They're nicer seats.
Big cushy seats.
You can recline.
That take up 2x the space.
Yeah, and there's always like a kind of noise along with it. But they're trying to do things to bring people back because they're getting less people. I think that there are governmental issues around grants and investing in arts. I think Indianapolis does better than some places, but Indiana could be doing so much more.
Yeah. I think Indiana, don't quote me on this, listeners, but I believe Indiana is like third last in like arts investment.
Man, yeah. Not much after that. So there's so much more that could be done, because if there were more in the way of grant funding, you could make your show little to no cost. We have theater companies that have to charge, but if they had more grant funding and we were investing in the arts and all of their needs were met, because that is a skill. You're not just providing entertainment. You're providing escape. to people. Laughter, once again, going back to the brain, reduces stress. It literally lowers inflammation in the body. Like if we as a country or as a state here in Indianapolis, or a city, Indianapolis, invested more in arts, raised the minimum wage, made tickets more affordable. Like there's going to be some cases where I think I don't blame people for not going, but I also don't blame the art. It's or the artist. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's a really tough situation that is exacerbated by a bunch of socioeconomic factors. Because if people aren't going to see a movie in the theater, you can't complain about a short theatrical run. You can't complain about the fact that when it goes to streaming, that it costs $20 to rent. When I was growing up, it was like $1.75 and maybe $2 if I didn't rewind. So there's a whole lot going into it. It is not it's a very complex issue.
Yeah.
That would be helped by raising the minimum wage, making shows more accessible, transportation-wise, not just for me, because if there was a train coming or an subway from Greenwood or Southport, where I'm at, to right to downtown, or up to Carmel, where there are other things that can be seen, I would go.
Yeah.
But if I'm having issue,
and you're someone who would immediately.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. In Philly, I lived. It would be kind of like in Carmel in far northeast Philly. It would be like where Carmel is to where the downtown is for some of my time when I was involved in arts. And I would get on the bus. I would take like 2 buses and a train or the subway to get downtown.
Yeah.
I eventually moved downtown, but I did it. Yeah, and I would. And I miss I get the experience a little bit with in a Lyft or an Uber, because I don't have to drive, I don't have to pay attention. But also, I always feel like less protected in a car than I did a bus or a train,
totally,
a subway. So I can never fully relax in a Lyft or an Uber. At the same time, I also like picture myself behind the wheel, and I'm like, you're fine, you'll be okay.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I have.
So big question is what I'm saying.
That's a great answer. So don't feel any type of way. Every episode, I ask a question from the previous guest.
Ooh.
Sneak peek for you. The previous guest to this episode is Ben Inskeep, who is the program director of the customer. Oh no. Just CAC, I'll call it. Call it that, which is a large consumer advocacy organization. He asks, what can you do, or what are you doing to have a positive effect in your own neighborhood?
In my own neighborhood, ooh, a positive.
And
effect.
You can also depersonalize it if you just want to think about it that way.
In my own neighborhood, I mean, other than keeping the lawn mowed, keep that lawn from getting too bad. Although there are other eyesores around the property. What am I doing to make it better? I would have to expand, because even like my neighborhood is where I reside, but where I live is Indianapolis, and mostly in downtown-ish, expanding that a little bit. But in general, where I live is in improv, and a whole bunch of people kind of coming through me, a crossroads, if you will.
Tie it
in. So everything that we've talked about, if that's not cheapening or chickening out of the question, helping people connect with themselves, connect with new people that are new in town, to make connections, meet new people, have a good time, build some confidence. Because if we got some Indiana politicians in an improv class, if there was a rule where in order to get into politics, you had to go through an improv program, I think we would have better politicians.
That's hilarious.
It's
but I believe
also
you.
true. I 100% believe that because how often do you see a congressional hearing where everybody comes with their pre-written, preconceived ideas. No one's really listening to each other. Everybody's talking over each other. And it's only the moments that break through where people are actually listening and they might get somebody on a question because they're pushing and listening. They're not just saying, okay, let's move on like the news always does. I could go down that road, but it's another podcast. To the question, what am I doing to make my neighborhood better? I think that is what I'm doing right now is what Crossroads does, and that is helping to make people in the neighborhood better versions of themselves.
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly valid answer.
Okay.
I agree with you entirely. Not necessarily, I sort of extrapolate it just to people in general, not just politicians, is that a lot of our issues stem from a lack of listening, a lack of learning, a lack of communication. Truly. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you in entirety.
Good.
Mike, 2 last questions.
Sure.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything on your heart, on your mind? Anything you're thinking about at this time? Any sad memories for the Philadelphia Phillies?
They're doing pretty good right now. Schwarber leads in home runs. We have a new manager. Like they came out in April and fired Rob Thompson, who was their manager. So they're in good shape. Other than the Phillies, other stuff on my mind. I want to see the new Evil Dead.
Did it come out? Or I thought it came out a couple of years ago. Is there another new one?
Yeah, Evil Dead. I believe it's called Evil Dead Burn. Is out as of this past Friday.
Are you a scary movie guy?
I love them.
What's the name of is it Obsession?
Yes.
That's the one you mentioned earlier also.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe this movie to me? Because for some reason it's caught my eye, but I've not watched it.
Well, I mean, the best way to put it is be careful what you wish for. That's which has been done since the Twilight Zone, right? But I think they do that idea they do it well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying sitting here talking to you about this. So I'm actually interested. What is it about horror movies you like? I took a horror movie class in college and it really changed my perspective on them. It actually made me appreciate them more. But what is it about horror movies that you like?
I like getting scared. I like seeing if something can scare me because I've seen so many horror films.
Yeah.
They a lot of times are some of the more, even when they're bad, they can still be good. Even if they're a little bit more paint by number, they can still be entertaining. There's always going to be something that is fun about it. Sometimes if they're bad, they could be very funny unintentionally. Yeah, I think it's just I was also raised on them. I think that probably plays into it. Like my dad raising me on horror films and watching things that I should not have watched when I was.
It's like people who listen to metal. I feel like everyone who listens to metal, their parents listen to metal. Like no one just like falls into that. Yeah. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, that's probably true. Like I listen to everything that my parents listen to, and that crosses blues, which still comes up. Everything from blues to Steppenwolf, Barbra Streisand. Like it's all over. Oh, Eric Clapton. Well, that goes back to the blues, but yeah, I think there's something to that. It's just my dad. Was also into horror films, and I am into horror films.
Yeah. The horror movie class that I took talked about how horror movies are a reflection of the fears of whatever time they were made in, which I think is really interesting to think about in the context of so one of the movies we watched in that movie, in that class was called Teeth, which is about a woman with teeth in her vagina.
Yep, chomp.
And this idea of like a puritanical society as like an overwhelming force. But you mentioned Obsession and Backrooms, which is a reflection of Gen Z's fears of being perceived and this fear of being a simulacrum of yourself sort of type thing. Like this idea of, I don't know exactly what obsession's about necessarily, but this idea of just like perception and sort of the way the world views you, I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I think there's something to that for sure.
Yeah.
I also think that it's very easy after the fact to say, like, oh, this is this was a metaphor for this or that or the other thing. Whereas, like, comedy, not necessarily. It's going to be a little bit more in your face. But with horror, where you're using a lot of monsters or tension or whatever it might be, what does this represent in the real world? Oh, it represents society's reluctance, whatever it might be, is easy to attach after the fact. And I think in that way, horror is art.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it can be very subjective in that way, and what people see in it in a way that Steven Seagal's what's it, under fire, whatever the hell that movie was, Down Below. They all sound like Steven Seagal movies. They might not be.
You could say any set of like 2 words and it would sound like a Steven Seagal movie.
Fire Down Below. Maybe that was what I'm thinking of. Anyway, but I think that there's a subjectivity to it. So I think that's all correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
One last question, which is, what question would you like to ask the next Third Space Indy guest?
Ooh.
It can be anything. It doesn't have to be. It can be absurdist or weird or normal. I don't know.
What is something from another city that they do really well that you would like to see Indianapolis adopt?
What is something from another city that you think they do well that you would like to see Indianapolis adopt?
Yeah.
That is the question.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Mike Marbach.
Thank you.
If you would like to be found, will you tell the people where they can find you?
Yes, you can follow us on social media, Instagram at Crossroads Comedy Indy.
And that's X, letter X.
The letter X. Crossroads Comedy Indy, and that is on Instagram and Facebook. You can go to xroadscomedyindy.com for our information on classes, shows, corporate training events, private shows, all bunch of stuff.
Dope. And yeah, if you're ever feeling like if you ever feel like you're lacking self-confidence or you'd like to be able to dance around a conversation, I don't know what I'm doing.
You're getting jiggy with it.
Check out Crossroads Comedy because I think he does good work. Anyways, thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of Third Space Indy. You can find me by going to thirdspaceindy.com or by going to @ThirdSpaceIndy on Instagram. Thank you so much to City Rising for sponsoring the podcast. And as always, thank you so much to the local artist Jinnison for allowing me to use your song, Scared Rabbit, as the intro music to the podcast. Thank you once again for watching. And thank you so much for Mike for coming on. See you in the next one. Goodbye.
Never said